Millionaire invited the black cleaning lady as a joke, but she showed up like a diva and everyone. Imagine this, a glittering ballroom in the heart of Manhattan's Waldorf Astoria, where New York's elite sip Krug champagne under the glow of crystal chandeliers. The air hums with arrogance, the kind only old money can afford. Tuxedos and designer gowns swirl across the marble floor, and every laugh, every clink of a glass, reeks of privilege. But then, the massive double doors swing open, and a hush ripples through the crowd. All eyes turn to her, Emma Harper, a 32-year-old waitress who's spent 3 years serving these very people, now stepping into their world. She's wearing a breathtaking emerald green gown, its silk shimmering like liquid starlight, worth more than most of their yearly salaries. The room erupts in laughter, but it's not the kind born of admiration. It's venomous, cruel, a cackle that cuts like a knife. "Who does she think she is?" a woman in a diamond tiara hisses. "Look at the waitress playing princess," another mocks, her voice dripping with disdain. Emma stands at the top of the grand staircase, her chin high, her posture flawless, as if the spotlight was made for her. The laughter grows louder, a wave of mockery orchestrated by the man at the center of it all, Charles Vanderbilt, the real estate tycoon whose name is synonymous with power in this city. He leans back in his velvet chair, a smirk curling his lips as he raises his glass to his inner circle. "Ladies and gentlemen," he says, his voice smooth as poison, "meet tonight's entertainment." His friends howl with delight, their eyes glinting with sadistic glee. This is no ordinary gala. It's a stage, and Emma is the pawn in Charles's cruel game. A game designed to humiliate her, to remind her of her place in their world. But what Charles doesn't know, what none of these smug elites could ever suspect, is that Emma Harper is no pawn. She's a queen in disguise, and tonight, she's about to turn their world upside down. 3 days earlier, Emma had been wiping down tables in the hotel's staff room when Charles approached her, his polished shoes clicking on the linoleum floor. In his hand was a gold-embossed invitation, the kind reserved for Manhattan's 1%. "Emma," he'd said, his smile sharp enough to draw blood, "we're hosting a charity gala this Saturday. Dress code, absolute elegance. Surely you have something suitable in your closet, don't you?" His friends, lounging nearby, burst into laughter, their eyes raking over her faded apron. It was a trap, plain as day, a public execution dressed up as an invitation. Charles had even tipped off the city's gossip columnists, ensuring every moment of Emma's humiliation would be splashed across social media. "Let's make a bet," he'd whispered to his wife, Olivia, as Emma swept the floor nearby. $50,000 says she runs out in tears within 10 minutes. Olivia, her lips painted crimson, had giggled. "You're wicked, Charles. The poor thing will be a laughingstock." But as Emma descends the staircase now, her heels clicking with deliberate precision, there's no trace of fear in her eyes. The crowd's laughter falters, just for a moment, as her gaze sweeps the room, calm, piercing, almost dangerous. She's not trembling, she's not shrinking, she's claiming the space, and it's unnerving them. Lauren Baxter, the wife of a senator, nudges her friend Chloe Grant, heiress to a tech empire. "Where did she get that dress?" Lauren whispers, her voice tight with envy. "It's probably a knockoff," Chloe scoffs, but her eyes linger on the gown's flawless cut. The truth is, Emma didn't borrow or rent that dress. It's hers, a relic from a past she's kept buried, a past that Charles Vanderbilt would pay millions to erase if he knew it existed. Charles steps forward, his chest puffed out, ready to deliver the first blow. "Emma, what a surprise," he says, loud enough for the microphones to catch. "I never doubted you'd show up. After all, when someone like you gets a chance to mingle with real society." He trails off, letting the crowd fill in the insult with their snickers. The cameras flash, capturing what they think is the beginning of Emma's downfall. But Emma tilts her head, her lips curving into a smile that's anything but submissive. "Someone like me, Charles?" she repeats, her voice like velvet over steel. "Go on, finish your sentence." For a split second, something in her tone, a quiet, unshakable confidence, makes Charles hesitate. The room holds its breath. And in that moment, you know this isn't the story they expected. This is the story of a woman who's been underestimated her entire life, and tonight, she's about to make them regret it. If this tale of justice and jaw-dropping twists hooks you, stick around, because what happens next will leave Manhattan's elite wishing they'd never laughed. 3 days before the glittering gala at the Waldorf Astoria, Emma Harper was just another face in the crowd of Manhattan's invisible workforce. In the dim, fluorescent-lit staff room of the hotel's catering department, she scrubbed wine stains from tablecloths and polished silverware until her hands ached. For 3 years, she'd served Charles Vanderbilt and his elite circle, carrying trays of caviar, refilling their champagne flutes, and enduring their dismissive glances. To them, she was nothing more than a shadow in a black apron, a silent cog in the machine of their opulent lives. But Charles, with his razor-sharp cruelty, saw an opportunity to make her something else, a spectacle. On that ordinary Wednesday, as Emma swept crumbs from a conference table, Charles strode into the room, his tailored suit pristine, his polished shoes clicking like a metronome. In his hand was a gold-embossed invitation, its edges glinting under the harsh lights. "Emma," he said, his voice dripping with mock generosity, "we're hosting a charity gala this Saturday, the Waldorf's finest hour." Dress code: absolute elegance. He paused, letting his eyes flick over her faded uniform. "Surely you have something suitable in that closet of yours, don't you?" His entourage, sycophants in designer loafers, burst into laughter, their cackles echoing off the concrete walls. Emma's fingers tightened around her broom, but her face remained impassive. She knew that smile of his, sharp enough to slice through dignity. This was no invitation. It was a guillotine wrapped in gold. Charles had planned this moment for weeks, savoring the idea like a fine Bordeaux. To him, Emma was the perfect target, a nobody, a waitress who dared to exist in his orbit without groveling. He'd grown tired of her quiet competence, the way she moved through his events with a dignity that seemed to mock his own excess. So, he devised a trap, a public humiliation disguised as charity. He'd invited New York's most ruthless gossip columnists, tipped off social media influencers, and even reserved a prime spot for a live streaming crew. The goal? To parade Emma before Manhattan's high society, let her drown in their mockery, and cement his dominance. As Emma walked away, invitation clutched in her hand, Charles turned to his wife, Olivia, who lounged nearby, scrolling through her phone. "Let's make a bet," he whispered, his eyes gleaming with sadistic glee. $50,000 says she shows up, stumbles in some cheap dress, and runs out in tears within 10 minutes. Olivia, her crimson lipstick curling into a smirk, giggled. "You're wicked, Charles. The poor thing will be a laughing stock. She'll never show her face in this city again." Their laughter followed Emma down the hall, each chuckle a nail in the coffin they'd built for her pride. But what Charles didn't know, what he couldn't possibly have known, was that Emma Harper was no stranger to traps. She'd spent years navigating a world that tried to crush her, learning to turn cruelty into fuel. For 3 years, she'd watched Charles and his ilk from the sidelines, memorizing their secrets, their weaknesses, their whispered deals in the corners of ballrooms. She'd heard the rumors about Charles's shady business practices, seen the fear in the eyes of those he blackmailed, and now, with this invitation, he'd handed her the key to his downfall. Back in her cramped Bronx apartment, Emma sat on her worn couch, the gold envelope glowing like a beacon in the dim light. She traced its edges, her mind racing. This wasn't just a gala. It was a battlefield, and Charles had underestimated his opponent. He thought he was inviting a lamb to the slaughter, but Emma was no lamb. She was a lion, and she'd spent years sharpening her claws. The stage was set for Saturday night, and Charles was certain of his victory. He'd already pictured the headlines. Waitress's gala disaster. He'd imagined the viral posts, the memes, the way his friends would toast his genius for turning a nobody into a punchline. But as Emma folded the invitation and tucked it into her bag, a faint smile crossed her lips. Not one of fear, but of resolve. Charles thought he was pulling the strings, but Emma had been weaving her own web for years. She wasn't just going to the gala, she was going to burn his empire to the ground. If this story of cunning and justice is pulling you in, don't stop now, because what Emma does next will leave Charles Vanderbilt wishing he'd never heard her name. The grand ballroom of the Waldorf Astoria pulses with the smug energy of Manhattan's elite, their laughter still ringing like shards of broken glass. Emma Harper stands at the center of this gilded cage, her emerald green gown catching the light like a beacon in a storm. The crowd's mockery washes over her, snide whispers, pointed fingers, and flashes from cell phones capturing what they believe is her inevitable humiliation. But Emma doesn't flinch. Her posture is flawless, her shoulders squared, her chin lifted as if she's been carved from marble. Her eyes, sharp and unyielding, sweep across the room with a quiet intensity that makes the air feel heavier. The laughter, so vicious just moments ago, begins to falter. A few guests shift uncomfortably, their smirks fading as they meet her gaze. There's something unsettling about her, something that doesn't fit the script Charles Vanderbilt wrote for this cruel charade. She's not the trembling waitress they expected. She's a force, cloaked in serenity, and it's starting to unnerve them. Lauren Baxter, the senator's wife draped in a sapphire blue gown, leans toward Chloe Grant, the tech heiress whose diamond earrings glitter like tiny chandeliers. "Where did she get that dress?" Lauren hisses, her voice a mix of envy and disbelief. "It's gotta be a rental." "No way a waitress could afford that." Chloe, clutching a flute of champagne, scoffs. "It's probably a knockoff. She's embarrassing herself, showing up like this." But her words lack conviction, her eyes lingering on the gown's flawless tailoring, the way it hugs Emma's frame like it was made for her. The truth is, they're not just mocking her, they're threatened. Emma's presence, her refusal to shrink under their scrutiny, is a crack in the facade of their carefully curated world. She moves through the crowd with deliberate grace, each step a silent challenge, her heels clicking against the marble floor like the ticking of a bomb. The room watches, mesmerized, as if she's a predator disguised as prey. Emma's calm is no accident. It's a weapon, honed over years of surviving a world that tried to break her. For 3 years, she'd been invisible to these people, clearing their plates, absorbing their casual cruelty, the way they'd snap their fingers for more wine or leave $100 tips like crumbs for a dog. But invisibility has its advantages. It gave her time to study them, to learn their secrets. She'd overheard Charles's late-night calls about offshore accounts, seen the fear in the eyes of politicians he greeted with a handshake and a threat. She'd memorized the rhythm of their arrogance, the way they underestimated anyone they deemed beneath them. And now, as she stands in their spotlight, she's not just defying their expectations. She's rewriting the rules of their game. The crowd parts as Charles Vanderbilt strides toward her, his face a mask of calculated charm. His friends trail behind, eager for the next act in his orchestrated humiliation. "Emma," he says, his voice booming for the benefit of the cameras, "you're certainly making a statement tonight. But don't you feel out of place?" The word "out" lands like a slap, and the crowd snickers right on cue. But Emma doesn't blink. She tilts her head, her lips curving into a smile that's equal parts silk and steel. "Out of place, Charles?" she repeats, her voice low but clear, cutting through the noise like a blade. "No, I'm exactly where I'm meant to be." The words hang in the air, heavy with meaning. For a fleeting moment, Charles's smirk wavers, his eyes narrowing as if sensing a trap he can't yet see. The crowd senses it too, a shift, a ripple of unease. Lauren whispers to Chloe, "What's with her?" "She's too calm." Chloe doesn't answer, her fingers tightening around her glass. Emma's serenity isn't just defiance, it's a promise. She's not here to beg for their approval or crumble under their scorn. She's here to dismantle their world, piece by glittering piece. And as the cameras keep rolling, capturing what they think is her downfall, Emma knows something they don't. Every laugh, every whisper is fuel for the fire she's about to ignite. If this glimpse of Emma's unbreakable spirit has you hooked, don't look away, because what she does next will make this gala the scandal of the century. The Waldorf Astoria's ballroom hums with the electric buzz of Manhattan's elite, their eyes fixed on Emma Harper, the waitress they expected to crumble under their scorn. Her emerald gown shimmers like a defiant flame, and her steely composure has already begun to chip away at their confidence. The laughter that once filled the room now wavers, replaced by a tense curiosity. Charles Vanderbilt, the puppet master of this cruel gala, senses the shift and decides it's time to take control. He strides toward Emma, his polished shoes clicking on the marble floor, his chest puffed out like a general marching to war. His entourage trails behind, their smirks sharp as daggers, ready to feast on what they believe will be Emma's public execution. The cameras, primed for the viral moment Charles orchestrated, zoom in, capturing every detail of his calculated arrogance. He stops just feet from Emma, his tall frame looming over her, and raises a glass of champagne, his voice booming to ensure every guest hears. "Emma," he says, his tone laced with mock admiration, "you've certainly made an entrance. But let's be honest, don't you feel a bit out of place among all this elegance?" The word elegance drips with condescension, and the crowd responds on cue, their snickers rippling like a wave. It's the opening blow, designed to shatter her confidence and remind her she's nothing but a waitress in their world. But Emma doesn't flinch. She stands rooted, her posture unyielding, her eyes locking onto Charles's with an intensity that feels like a physical force. The room seems to shrink around them, the chatter fading as all attention zeroes in on this unexpected duel. Emma tilts her head slightly, her lips curving into a smile that's not nervous or submissive, but dangerously serene, like the calm before a storm. "Out of place, Charles?" she repeats, her voice low and clear, slicing through the air like a blade wrapped in velvet. "No, I'm exactly where I'm meant to be." The words land with a weight that silences the room. For a split second, Charles's smirk falters, his eyes narrowing as if he's glimpsed something he wasn't prepared for. The crowd senses it too, a subtle shift, like the ground moving beneath their feet. Lauren Baxter, the senator's wife, clutches her pearl necklace, whispering to Chloe Grant, "What's she playing at?" She's too confident. Chloe, her champagne flute trembling slightly, doesn't respond, her gaze fixed on Emma's unflinching face. Charles recovers quickly, his arrogance snapping back into place like a shield. He steps closer, lowering his voice to a patronizing purr, though it's still loud enough for the microphones to catch. "Come now, Emma," he says. "This isn't your world. You must be overwhelmed, surrounded by people who, well, let's just say, move in different circles." The insult is veiled but deliberate, a reminder of the chasm he believes separates them. The crowd leans in, expecting Emma to shrink, to stammer, to prove she's the outcast they've labeled her. But Emma doesn't take the bait. She takes a single step forward, closing the gap between them, her presence suddenly commanding in a way that makes Charles instinctively lean back. "Different circles?" she says, her voice steady, each word precise. "Funny you say that, Charles, because I've been watching your circles for years, and trust me, they're not as exclusive as you think." Her tone is calm, but edged with a quiet menace, a hint that she knows something he doesn't. The crowd gasps softly, a few guests exchanging glances. What does she mean? What could a waitress possibly know? For the first time, a flicker of unease crosses Charles's face. His hand tightens around his glass, and he forces a laugh, but it's hollow, lacking the confidence of moments ago. "You're bold, I'll give you that," he says, trying to regain control. "But boldness won't change where you belong." Emma's smile widens, and it's not the smile of a victim. It's the smile of someone who's already won the first round. "Oh, Charles," she says, her voice almost pitying, "you have no idea where I belong, but you're about to find out." The words hang in the air, a challenge and a promise. The cameras keep rolling, but the narrative is slipping from Charles's grasp. The crowd, once his loyal audience, now watches Emma with a mix of fascination and dread. If this electrifying clash has your heart racing, don't turn away, because Emma's next move will shake this gala to its core. The Waldorf Astoria's ballroom is a pressure cooker of tension, the air thick with the aftershocks of Emma Harper's defiance. Charles Vanderbilt stands mere feet from her, his forced smile cracking under the weight of her unshakable confidence. The crowd, once a chorus of mocking laughter, now watches in uneasy silence, their eyes darting between the waitress in the emerald gown and the tycoon who thought he'd scripted her downfall. Emma's last words, "You have no idea where I belong," hang like a guillotine blade, and the room holds its breath, sensing something monumental is about to unfold. Charles, desperate to reclaim control, leans in, his voice sharp with condescension. "Enough of this, Emma," he snaps, loud enough for the cameras to catch. "You're embarrassing yourself. Why don't you spare us the theatrics and leave before this gets worse?" The The crowd murmurs, some nodding in approval, expecting her to finally break. But Emma doesn't move. Instead, she reaches into the small velvet clutch at her side, her movements deliberate, almost ceremonial. The soft click of the clasp echoes in the hushed room, and she pulls out a delicate object that glints under the chandeliers. A diamond-encrusted pendant, engraved with the unmistakable crest of the Vanderbilt family. A collective gasp ripples through the ballroom, like wind sweeping across a still lake. The pendant, a relic of the Vanderbilt dynasty, is no mere trinket. It's a symbol of lineage, of power, of a legacy that Charles has spent his life guarding. Emma holds it aloft, letting the light catch its facets, her eyes never leaving Charles's face. "You want to talk about where I belong, Charles?" she says, her voice steady, but laced with a quiet fury that makes the hair on every neck stand up. "Let's start with this." She pauses, letting the weight of the moment sink in. "This pendant was my mother's, given to her by her lover, Edward Vanderbilt, my father." The silence that follows is deafening, a thunderstruck void that swallows every whisper, every clink of glass. Charles's face drains of color, his champagne flute trembling in his hand. "That's impossible," he stammers, his voice cracking like thin ice. "You're lying." "My father had no other children!" But his protest sounds hollow, desperate, and the crowd isn't laughing anymore. They're staring, wide-eyed, as the impossible takes shape before them. Lauren Baxter, the senator's wife, clutches her husband's arm, her voice barely a whisper. "The Vanderbilt crest. It's real. How does she have it?" Chloe Grant, the tech heiress, shakes her head, her confidence unraveling. "She's bluffing." She has to be. But doubt creeps into their voices, their certainty crumbling as Emma steps forward, the pendant still raised like a banner of truth. "Oh, I'm not bluffing, Charles," she says, her tone now carrying a dangerous edge, each word a precise strike. "My mother was Elizabeth Harper, your father's personal assistant for 7 years. They fell in love, and I was born. Edward promised to protect us, to acknowledge me as his daughter, but when he died, you made sure that promise was buried with him." Her words cut through the room like a blade, and Charles staggers back, his eyes wild with panic. The crowd is frozen, their phones still recording, but now for a different reason. This isn't the humiliation they were promised. It's a revelation that could shatter the Vanderbilt empire. Emma's gaze sweeps the room, locking eyes with the elite who mocked her just minutes ago. "You thought you invited a nobody to your gala," she says, her voice rising, resonant with the strength of someone who's carried this secret for decades. "But you invited a Vanderbilt, your half-sister Charles." The word sister lands like a bombshell, exploding the last remnants of Charles's composure. His mouth opens, but no words come out. The cameras zoom in, capturing his ashen face, the sweat beading on his brow. The crowd erupts into murmurs, a wildfire of shock and speculation. Lauren whispers to Chloe, "If she's telling the truth, this changes everything." Emma lowers the pendant, tucking it back into her clutch, but her eyes remain fixed on Charles, burning with a resolve that promises more secrets to come. If this jaw-dropping twist has you reeling, hold on tight, because Emma's not done rewriting history. The Waldorf Astoria's ballroom is a frozen tableau of shock, the air crackling with the fallout of Emma Harper's bombshell revelation. She's Edward Vanderbilt's daughter, Charles Vanderbilt's half-sister. The crowd, once a smug chorus of laughter, now stands paralyzed, their phones still recording as the gala spirals into uncharted territory. Charles, his face pale as ash, grips the edge of a table, his eyes darting like a cornered animal's. Emma's diamond-encrusted pendant, proof of her lineage, has shattered his carefully crafted narrative, but she's not done. Her gaze, steady and unrelenting, pins him in place as she steps forward, her emerald gown flowing like a river of defiance. The crowd parts instinctively, sensing the storm that's about to break. Emma's voice, calm but commanding, cuts through the silence. "You thought you could erase me, Charles," she says, each word a deliberate strike. "But you didn't just hide my existence. You stole from our family millions that should have been ours." The accusation lands like a thunderclap, and the room erupts in gasps, a tidal wave of disbelief washing over Manhattan's elite. Charles tries to laugh, but it's a brittle, desperate sound. "This is absurd," he snaps, his voice cracking. "You have no proof, no standing, nothing." But his bravado is crumbling, and Emma's smile, sharp as a blade, tells him she's already 3 steps ahead. She gestures toward the ballroom's entrance, and the double doors swing open with a dramatic thud. Rachel Cohen, New York's most relentless investigative journalist, strides in, her tablet glowing with damning evidence. Beside her is Michael Torres, a steely-eyed attorney known for dismantling corporate empires. The crowd murmurs, their whispers a mix of fear and fascination. Rachel steps to a projector, her movements precise, and connects her device. A massive screen behind Emma lights up, displaying a bank statement that draws a collective gasp. "This," Rachel announces, her voice cutting through the chaos, "is a transfer of $15 million from the Vanderbilt Family Trust to an offshore account in the Cayman Islands, authorized by Charles Vanderbilt in 2018. The screen zooms in on Charles's digital signature, unmistakable and undeniable. The room explodes into chaos, muffled cries, frantic whispers, and the clatter of dropped champagne flutes. Lauren Baxter, the senator's wife, turns to her husband, her face white. $15 million from his own family? Chloe Grant, the tech heiress, stares at the screen, her earlier scorn replaced by shock. "He's been stealing all this time?" Charles lunges toward the projector, his voice hoarse. "This is fabricated, a setup." But Michael Torres steps forward, holding a thick folder of documents. "We have more," he says, his tone as cold as steel. "Contracts forged to siphon funds, emails instructing your accountant to hide the transactions, and witness statements from former employees you threatened to silence." He holds up a printed email, the subject line glaring. "Keep the trust numbers buried." The crowd recoils, some stepping away from Charles as if his disgrace is contagious. Emma watches the chaos unfold, her expression a mask of controlled fury. "You didn't just betray me, Charles," she says, her voice rising to command the room. "You betrayed our father's legacy, the trust he built for his family, including me." Her words hit like a sledgehammer, and Charles staggers, his hands shaking. The cameras, once aimed at Emma's supposed humiliation, now capture his unraveling, sweat beading on his brow, his empire crumbling in real time. Rachel projects another document, a ledger showing years of misappropriated funds, each entry a nail in Charles's coffin. The crowd's whispers grow louder, a wildfire of scandal spreading. Emma steps closer to Charles, her eyes burning with resolve. "This is just the beginning," she says, her voice low but lethal. "You thought you could bury the truth, but I've been digging it up for years." The room holds its breath, knowing this is no longer a game. If this earth-shaking evidence has you on the edge of your seat, don't blink, because Emma's next revelation will tear Charles's world apart. The Waldorf Astoria's ballroom is a cauldron of chaos. The once smug elite now reeling from Emma Harper's revelation that Charles Vanderbilt siphoned millions from the family trust. The massive screen behind her still glows with damning bank records, each line a testament to Charles's greed. His face is a mask of panic, sweat glistening on his brow as he stammers denials that no one believes. Emma stands like a pillar of righteous fury, her emerald gown catching the light as she commands the room. The crowd, their phones still recording, senses the air growing heavier, as if the walls themselves are bracing for what's next. Emma's eyes, burning with a resolve forged in years of pain, lock onto Charles. "You thought stealing was your worst crime," she says, her voice low and deliberate, each word a spark in a powder keg. "But there's something far darker you've been hiding, Charles. Something that cost our father his life." The accusation hits like a lightning bolt, and the room falls into a silence so profound it feels like the world has stopped turning. Charles's knees buckle, his hand clutching a chair for support. "You're insane!" he shouts, but his voice is a cracked, desperate plea. The crowd isn't laughing anymore. They're staring, horrified, as Emma raises her hand, signaling to the ballroom's entrance. The double doors creak open, and Dr. Susan Reynolds, the Vanderbilt family's private physician, steps into the light. Her face is pale, her hands trembling, but her steps are resolute. The crowd gasps, recognizing the woman who treated Edward Vanderbilt in his final years. Emma nods to her, and Susan's voice, though shaky, carries a chilling clarity. "For 20 years, I've carried a secret," she says, her words echoing through the stunned silence. Edward Vanderbilt didn't die of a heart attack. He was poisoned, slowly, deliberately, with arsenic, and Charles Vanderbilt forced me to cover it up. The room erupts in muffled cries, a wave of horror sweeping through the elite. Lauren Baxter, the senator's wife, covers her mouth, whispering, "Poisoned." "My God, is this true?" Chloe Grant, the tech heiress, stares at Charles, her earlier arrogance replaced by dread. Emma steps to a control panel and connects her phone to the ballroom sound system. A grainy recording begins to play, and Charles's voice, unmistakable and cold, fills the room. "If Father finds out I've been taking money, I'm finished," the recording says. "Make sure he doesn't last long, Susan. Do it quietly, or your career is over." The words are a death knell, each syllable stripping away the last of Charles's facade. He lunges toward the speakers, screaming, "That's fake! It's a conspiracy!" But his voice is drowned out by the crowd's gasps and the relentless hum of cameras capturing his collapse. Rachel Cohen, the journalist, steps forward, holding up a lab report. "This is an independent analysis of Edward Vanderbilt's blood, conducted last month," she says, her voice steady. "Arsenic levels were lethal. The evidence is irrefutable." The screen flashes with the report, its stark numbers searing into every mind. Charles collapses into a chair, his hands covering his face as if he could hide from the truth. Emma's voice rises, cutting through the chaos like a blade. "You killed our father, Charles," she says, her tone a mix of grief and fury. "You poisoned him to keep your secrets safe, to steal his fortune, to erase me from his legacy." Her words resonate, a requiem for the justice she's waited decades to deliver. The crowd, once his allies, now shuns him, their faces etched with disgust. Olivia, Charles's wife, stands frozen across the room, her eyes wide with horror as she processes the monster she's married. Emma turns to the crowd, her voice unwavering. "This isn't just about me. It's about every life Charles destroyed to protect his lies." The cameras keep rolling, broadcasting the scandal to the world. If this heart-stopping revelation has you breathless, don't look away, because Emma's justice is only beginning. The Waldorf Astoria's ballroom is a battlefield of shattered illusions, the air thick with the wreckage of Charles Vanderbilt's empire. Moments ago, Emma Harper's relentless evidence, bank records proving his embezzlement, and a chilling recording exposing his role in their father's murder, turned the Gala into a public execution. Charles slumps in a velvet chair, his once imposing frame reduced to a trembling shell. His tailored tuxedo, a symbol of untouchable wealth, now clings to him like a shroud. The massive screen behind Emma still glows with the lab report confirming Edward Vanderbilt's poisoning, its stark numbers branding Charles as a monster. The crowd, once his fawning allies, stares in horrified silence, their faces a gallery of shock and disgust. The cameras, meant to capture Emma's humiliation, now broadcast Charles's disgrace to the world, each flash a nail in the coffin of his legacy. Emma stands tall, her emerald gown a beacon of justice, her eyes fixed on the man who tried to destroy her. The room waits, breathless, for the final blow. Charles lifts his head, his voice a ragged whisper. "This is a lie," he says, but the words crumble before they leave his lips. No one believes him, not the journalists scribbling furiously, not the influencers live-streaming the scandal, and certainly not his wife, Olivia. She stands across the room, her crimson gown stark against her ashen face, her eyes wide with betrayal. "Charles," she says, her voice breaking, "you killed your own father." "For money?" The question cuts through the silence, raw and accusing. Charles reaches out, desperation in his eyes. "Olivia, please, it's not what it seems." But she steps back, shaking her head, her diamond necklace glinting like tears. "I married a monster," she says, loud enough for the microphones to catch. "We're done." The crowd gasps as Olivia turns away, her heels clicking toward the exit, leaving Charles utterly alone. The word divorce ripples through the whispers, a death sentence for his social standing. The elite, who once toasted Charles's every word, now recoil as if he's radioactive. Lauren Baxter, the senator's wife, pulls her husband away, muttering, "We can't be seen with him." Chloe Grant, the tech heiress, deletes a photo of herself with Charles from her phone, her fingers trembling. The room's loyalty, built on wealth and fear, dissolves in seconds, leaving Charles a pariah in the world he once ruled. Rachel Cohen, the journalist, steps forward, her tablet projecting new evidence, a list of politicians Charles blackmailed, judges he bribed, and charities he defrauded. "This is just the tip of the iceberg," she says, her voice steady. "Charles Vanderbilt's corruption spans decades." The screen flashes with emails, each one more incriminating, and the crowd's murmurs grow into a roar of outrage. A guest shouts, "How could he do this?" Another cries, "He's ruined us all!" Emma's voice rises above the chaos, clear and unyielding. "You built your empire on lies, Charles," she says, her words a requiem for his reign. "You stole, you manipulated, you killed." But tonight, the truth catches up. Charles looks up, his eyes hollow. A man staring into the abyss of his own making. He tries to stand, but his legs give way, and he collapses back into the chair, a broken king dethroned by the sister he tried to erase. The cameras zoom in, capturing his sweat-soaked face, his trembling hands, his empire reduced to ash. Emma turns to the crowd, her presence commanding. "This isn't just about my father's death," she says. "It's about every person Charles crushed to climb higher." Her words resonate, a call to justice that echoes beyond the ballroom. The crowd, once complicit in her mockery, now watches in awe, some even nodding in reluctant respect. If this devastating downfall has you gripped, don't turn away, because Emma's fight for justice is about to change everything. The Waldorf Astoria's ballroom is a graveyard of Charles Vanderbilt's legacy, the echoes of his crimes, embezzlement, blackmail, and murder, still reverberating through the stunned crowd. Charles sits crumpled in a chair, a fallen titan, his face buried in trembling hands as the cameras capture his ruin. Emma Harper stands at the center of the chaos, her emerald gown a symbol of resilience, her presence a beacon in the storm. The elite, who once mocked her as a mere waitress, now watch in a mixture of awe and unease, their world turned upside down by the woman they underestimated. The massive screen behind her, still displaying evidence of Charles's corruption, casts a harsh glow, but Emma's voice, clear and resolute, cuts through the tension like a lighthouse piercing fog. She steps forward, her eyes sweeping the room, not with vengeance, but with a purpose far greater. "This night isn't about revenge," she says, her tone steady, each word carrying the weight of years spent in the shadows. "It's about justice, for my father, for me, and for every person who's been crushed under the weight of people like Charles." The crowd shifts, some lowering their phones, others exchanging guilty glances. Emma's words aren't just for Charles. They're a mirror held up to everyone in the room. She turns to Lauren Baxter, the senator's wife, whose earlier sneers now seem hollow. "You laughed when I walked in," Emma says, her voice calm but piercing, "because you thought I was beneath you. You saw a waitress, not a person." Lauren's face flushes, her pearl necklace suddenly feeling like a noose. Emma's gaze shifts to Chloe Grant, the tech heiress, whose diamond earrings no longer shield her from scrutiny. "And you, Chloe, called my dress a knockoff," Emma continues, her tone unflinching. "But now you're silent. Why?" "Because you know I'm a Vanderbilt? Or because you're afraid of what else I know?" The room is deathly quiet, the elite confronted with their own complicity. Lauren stammers, We didn't mean it," but her voice falters under Emma's steady stare. "You did," Emma replies, her words not cruel but firm. "And that's the problem. You build your world on tearing others down, but tonight, that world cracks." Emma's voice rises, resonating with a passion that fills the ballroom. "I didn't come here to take Charles's place," she says, her eyes blazing with conviction. "I came to fight for the people you ignore, the ones who clean your tables, drive your cars, and live in the shadows of your wealth. This is for them, for every dream you've trampled, every voice you've silenced." Her words strike a chord, and a few guests, those who've known struggle themselves, nod slowly, their faces softening. The cameras, still rolling, capture this shift, broadcasting not just a scandal, but a movement. Emma's fight is no longer personal, it's universal, a rallying cry for anyone who's ever been dismissed. She points to the screen, where Charles's crimes are laid bare. "This isn't just about one man's greed," she says. "It's about a system that lets men like him thrive while others beg for scraps. I'm here to say, no more." The crowd, once unified in their mockery, is now divided. Some cling to their privilege, others grapple with the truth. Emma's resolve is unshakable, her presence a testament to the power of standing tall. "Justice isn't about tearing down," she says, her voice softening but no less powerful. "It's about building something better, something fair. And I'll use every resource I have to make that happen." Her promise hangs in the air, a vow that transcends the ballroom's gilded walls. Lauren and Chloe avert their eyes, their earlier arrogance replaced by shame. The journalists scribble furiously, sensing a story that will echo far beyond Manhattan. Emma's message is clear. This is bigger than her, bigger than Charles, bigger than any one night. If this powerful call for justice has stirred your soul, stay with us, because Emma's vision is about to reshape the world. The Waldorf Astoria's ballroom, once a stage for Charles Vanderbilt's cruel spectacle, now stands as a monument to Emma Harper's triumph. The air, thick with the wreckage of Charles's exposed crimes, embezzlement, blackmail, and murder, settles into a reverent hush as Emma's powerful call for justice lingers. Charles, a broken figure, is led away by security, his empire reduced to ashes, his name a synonym for disgrace. Emma, radiant in her emerald gown, remains the eye of the storm, her presence a testament to resilience and righteousness. The crowd, their earlier mockery replaced by awe, watches as she steps onto the balcony, the Manhattan skyline glittering below like a canvas of possibilities. The cameras follow, capturing not just the end of a scandal, but the birth of a new legacy. Emma's voice, steady and resonant, carries over the city's hum. "This isn't the end," she says, her words a promise. "It's the beginning of a world where power serves justice, not greed." Her declaration marks the dawn of a new era, one she's determined to shape with her own hands. 6 months later, Emma sits in the former office of Charles Vanderbilt, now transformed into a space of purpose and progress. The walls, once lined with trophies of arrogance, now display certificates from community initiatives and photos of employees who've risen from entry-level roles to leadership. As the rightful heir to the Vanderbilt fortune, Emma has reclaimed her place, but she's done more than inherit wealth. She's redefined it. Under her leadership, the Vanderbilt Corporation has become a beacon of fairness. She's raised wages across the board, ensuring every worker, from janitors to executives, earns a living income. She's launched a scholarship fund for employees' children, giving kids from the Bronx and Harlem the chance to attend college debt-free. A microloan program for small businesses in underserved neighborhoods has empowered entrepreneurs to chase their dreams. And the largest domestic violence shelter in New York now bears her name, a haven for those escaping the shadows she once knew. These aren't just policies. They're proof that power, wielded with compassion, can heal wounds and build futures. Emma's transformation of the company isn't just moral, it's masterful. By treating employees as humans, not cogs, she's boosted profits by 40%, a feat Charles's toxic reign never achieved. Her story has gone viral, not for the scandal, but for what came after. Universities beg her to speak, but she prefers the quiet work, meeting with community leaders, mentoring young women, and proving that leadership means lifting others up. In her personal life, Emma's found peace in a modest Brooklyn brownstone, where she's adopted a young girl named Maya, an orphan who reminds Emma of her own childhood struggles. Every night, as she helps Maya with homework, Emma feels a warmth she never knew growing up, a sense of home, of purpose, of love. One afternoon, Emma receives a letter from Olivia, Charles's ex-wife, who fled Manhattan with their children after the Gala. "You could have destroyed us," Olivia writes, "but you protected my kids. Thank you for showing them what strength really means." Emma keeps the letter, a reminder that justice doesn't erase pain, it redirects it toward healing. Charles, now serving a life sentence for murder and fraud, is a footnote in her story, his fortune confiscated to compensate his victims. Emma's victory isn't in his downfall, it's in the empire she's built, one where dignity is the currency and opportunity the goal. She looks out her office window, watching employees laugh in the company garden, a space she created for them. This is her legacy, a world where no one is invisible. "I didn't just reclaim my name," she tells a rare interviewer. "I gave it new meaning, for my father, for Maya, for everyone who's ever been told they don't belong." Her words resonate, a clarion call for change. If Emma's inspiring rise has ignited your hope, subscribe and share this story, because her triumph proves that justice, when built on truth, can change the world. The Waldorf Astoria's ballroom, now a silent witness to Charles Vanderbilt's catastrophic fall, hums with the weight of Emma Harper's victory. Charles, a broken man, sits defeated. His crimes, embezzlement, blackmail, and the murder of their father, Edward Vanderbilt, laid bare for all to see. The crowd, once eager to mock Emma, watches her with a mix of reverence and disbelief, their phones still capturing the unraveling of Manhattan's elite. Emma stands tall, her emerald gown a symbol of her unyielding resolve, her eyes gleaming with the fire of justice served. But as the cameras zoom in, hungry for the next chapter of this scandal, Emma's voice rises, clear and commanding, revealing the masterstroke that brought her to this moment. "You thought I stumbled into this gala by chance, Charles," she says, her tone laced with a quiet triumph that sends a shiver through the room. "But I've been planning this for 3 years. Every step, every word, every piece of evidence. This wasn't luck. This was strategy." The crowd leans in, spellbound, as Emma unveils the chess game she's been playing in the shadows. 3 years ago, Emma Harper wasn't just a waitress. She was a survivor with a mission. After discovering her true identity as Edward Vanderbilt's daughter, she vowed to reclaim her birthright and expose Charles's crimes. But she knew brute force wouldn't work against a man with his wealth and influence. So, she became invisible, taking a job at the Waldorf Astoria, where Charles hosted his lavish events. She polished silverware, served champagne, and listened, her apron a perfect disguise. Every late-night conversation she overheard, Charles's boasts about offshore accounts, his threats to silence employees, became a piece of her puzzle. She secretly recorded his calls using a hidden device, each file meticulously labeled and stored. "I had to be patient," Emma says, her voice steady, resonating through the ballroom. "One wrong move, and he'd crush me. So I waited, watched, and built my case." The crowd gasps, marveling at her cunning, their earlier disdain replaced by admiration. Emma's plan went beyond gathering evidence. She forged alliances. She contacted Rachel Cohen, the journalist, months before the gala, sharing fragments of her findings to earn her trust. She met Michael Torres, the attorney, in a dimly lit diner, handing him copies of forged contracts she'd found in Charles's office trash. She even tracked down Dr. Susan Reynolds, the physician haunted by her role in Edward's death, and spent weeks convincing her to come forward. "I didn't just want Charles to fall," Emma says, her eyes sweeping the room. "I wanted the truth to stand taller than his lies." She orchestrated the gala's climax like a conductor, ensuring every player, Rachel, Michael, Susan, arrived at the precise moment to deliver their part. The gold-embossed invitation Charles handed her wasn't a trap. It was her opening, the moment she'd engineered by subtly goading him into underestimating her. The crowd is silent, hanging on her every word, as Emma reveals the depth of her strategy. "I applied for that waitressing job to get close to you, Charles," she says, her voice sharp with purpose. "I smiled when you insulted me, nodded when you dismissed me, all while collecting the keys to your downfall." Charles looks up, his face a mask of horror, realizing he'd been outplayed by the woman he saw as beneath him. The cameras capture Emma's unwavering gaze, her story transforming from a personal vendetta into a masterclass in resilience and intellect. "This wasn't about revenge," she says, her tone softening but resolute. "It was about proving that no one is untouchable when the truth is your weapon." Her words ignite the room, a rallying cry for anyone who's ever been overlooked. The elite, once complicit in her humiliation, now see a woman who turned invisibility into invincibility. If Emma's brilliant strategy has you in awe, don't miss what comes next. Her vision for a better world is about to unfold. The Waldorf Astoria's ballroom, once a glittering arena of privilege and cruelty, now stands transformed by Emma Harper's unyielding pursuit of justice. Charles Vanderbilt's empire lies in ruins, his crimes, embezzlement, blackmail, and the murder of their father, exposed to a stunned crowd. Emma, radiant in her emerald gown, has not only reclaimed her place as a Vanderbilt, but reshaped the family's legacy into a beacon of fairness and hope. As the cameras capture her poised silhouette against the Manhattan skyline, Emma turns to the crowd, her voice rising with a clarity that transcends the chaos of the night. This isn't just the end of a scandal. It's a moment to reflect, to learn, and to act. My story isn't about one night, she says, her tone warm but resolute, like a lighthouse guiding ships through a storm. It's about what we do when the world tries to break us. It's about choosing to fight, not with anger, but with truth and purpose. Her words resonate, a call to every heart in the room and every viewer beyond, inviting them to see themselves in her journey. Emma's eyes soften, but her voice carries the strength of someone who's walked through fire. When I was a waitress, invisible to the people in this room, I learned something, she says. Injustice doesn't define you unless you let it. When someone tries to push you down, don't lash out, plan. Stay calm, gather your evidence, and find your allies. That's how you turn their traps into your triumphs. Her advice is practical, a roadmap for anyone facing their own battles. She pauses, letting the crowd absorb her words, then continues. I spent 3 years building my case against Charles, not because I wanted to destroy him, but because I wanted to rebuild what he stole, a legacy of fairness, a world where no one is dismissed because of their job, their background, or their name. The crowd, once complicit in her humiliation, listens intently, some nodding as her message cuts through their privilege. Emma's story isn't just inspiring, it's a blueprint for resilience, a reminder that patience and strategy can topple even the mightiest giants. She steps closer to the edge of the balcony, the city's lights twinkling below like stars aligning in her favor. You don't need a famous name or a fortune to make a difference, she says, her voice rising with passion. You need courage to stand up, wisdom to choose your moment, and heart to lift others as you rise. That's the lesson I carry, and it's one you can carry too. Her words are a spark, igniting a sense of possibility in the room. The journalists scribble furiously, the influencers pause their live streams to listen, and even Lauren Baxter and Chloe Grant, humbled by their earlier scorn, look on with newfound respect. Emma's message transcends the gala, speaking to anyone who's ever felt overlooked or undervalued, a universal anthem for the underdog. Emma's gaze sweeps the crowd, then shifts to the cameras, as if speaking directly to the world. If this story of justice moves you, don't just watch, act, she urges, her voice vibrant with conviction. Share this story with someone who needs to hear it. Stand up for someone being treated unfairly, and subscribe to this channel, because we're telling stories that prove the truth always wins when you fight smart. Her call to action is clear, infectious, urging viewers to join a movement of change. The crowd erupts in applause, not out of obligation but genuine admiration, their clapping a testament to Emma's impact. Let's build a world where no one's voice is silenced, she says, her final words a vow that echoes beyond the ballroom. If Emma's lessons and unbreakable spirit have lit a fire in you, hit that subscribe button and share this video, because together we can make justice unstoppable.